guys, so today we're going to talk about some reasons not to eat bread. Amy and I have not eaten bread for quite a while, maybe
a year now.
So it was about a year ago we started really cleaning up our diet, looking at what we ate, and pretty quickly look into bread, and there was not many reasons to eat it. In fact, there's a lot of reasons not to eat it, which we're going to go into. So if you're going gluten-free or you're thinking about not eating bread or cutting it down, I feel like a lot of people ask questions, and there are like a lot of elements to it that you might want to look into.
Okay, so the first thing that we're going to talk about before we even touch the gluten issue is the fact that bread is a pretty nutrient poor food, which you might be surprised about because the government and commercials and TV and everything will always tell you that bread is high in B vitamins,
healthy
folate,
wholegrains.
Oh, and fiber. Have you ever heard that? Like the white bread is like twice the fiber of nothing.
Yeah, if you actually look at the nutritional breakdown of bread, like we've looked at it together, and even your whole grain bread is really poor compared to other foods, like your vegetables.
But the thing is that it's like displacing those foods.
Yeah, that's the other thing that actually, what were you saying?
The opportunity cost.
Which was like what
So
Jonathan Baylor says?
Yeah, Jonathan Baylor says that it's like the opportunity cost of eating bread. So, if you were you could be eating vegetables or something else, or a sweet potato
as your carbohydrate source, but now you're eating bread. It's like, a lot of the times you eat bread or other grain kind of products, breakfast, lunch and dinner, and you're filling up on all these empty calories that don't provide much nutrition.
Yeah, really that's reason enough to cut it down.
Yeah.
Without even, thinking about gluten or phytates or anything.
Yeah, because there's a lot of controversy about those topics. Some people don't believe in gluten sensitivity, which is not something we agree with. But if you don't even go there, what's the reason to eat it? Like, it's empty food.
Probably because you're addicted to it, but we'll get to that.
So the second reason is to not eat bread is that it also inhibits nutrient absorption. So on top of the fact that it doesn't have much nutrients in it to begin with, it stops your body from absorbing nutrients. Yeah,
so bread contains phytates, which a lot of plant foods do contain phytates or phytic acid or whatever you want to call it. But basically in the gut they bind to your minerals, so your zinc, your calcium, magnesium,
a lot of those
which have a lot of important functions in the body. So it binds to them and inhibits you from absorbing them.
Yeah, and using them. So didn't you say when bread was introduced to some countries, the refined bread that we eat now, not so much
they came up with a lot of deficiency diseases, which they directly kind of trace back to the fact that bread was introduced at that time.
And so now, a lot of breads are actually fortified with different
the thing that
minerals, so that people can eat it and still receive some level of nutrition.
But I think it's important as well because people talk a lot about but don't nuts have phytates? Because a lot of plant foods have phytates, but you're not eating nuts like you're eating wheat. People are eating wheat for breakfast. You're eating your Wheat Bix, then you're eating your sandwich at lunch, then you're eating a cracker for a snack, and then you're eating pasta for dinner. Okay, so our next topic, which is a bit of a contentious topic, is the gluten issue.
Yeah, so there's a lot going on around gluten intolerance, whether it exists or not. We believe that it does, and that the scientific evidence
consensus is that it exists, basically, I think.
Yeah, and that it's a significant problem. So gluten basically triggers in your gut the over-release of a certain protein called, I think, zonulin.
Yeah.
And that
it's
impacts the tight junctions in your gut that stop permeability of the gut lining.
Yeah, so once that's broken down, you're getting all kinds of proteins passing through your gut. It shouldn't be there.
Into your blood.
So they're like large proteins, you might develop, a dairy allergy now. And when that gets into the blood, you get this immune response because it's not supposed to be there. Then you get this chronic inflammation in the gut, which is a big deal because like that's how they're finding that's how a lot of, you know, like autoimmune diseases begin.
Yeah, by the leaky gut.
Yeah. Or even like, you know, all kinds of things. Like if you've got skin problems, they think that a lot of skin issues begin in the gut. So even acne, you know, psoriasis, all these sorts of things could be coming from a leaky gut.
Yeah, and they say there's, you know, there's varying levels of gluten sensitivity. You don't have to be a celiac to have a problem with gluten. They're finding more and more, you know, incidents of people having, you know, non-celiac gluten sensitivity that's affecting, you know, they're not having gut symptoms, but it can affect any tissue in the body and cause that systemic inflammation, which like you really don't want.
Which is almost more damaging if, you know, if you're a celiac or you've got a sensitivity and you don't know it because you're going through your whole life, you know, causing inflammation in your gut.
Yeah, and they link it to like all sorts of really scary things like cancers and...
But don't they say even, for like every one diagnosed celiac, there's 6 people
who have
celiac but have no gut symptoms.
And celiac is like an actual autoimmune response to gluten.
That's a really bad response to gluten. But, you know, even if you don't have any kind of celiac disease, you know, there's varying levels of sensitivity.
Yeah. And the other point on gluten is that it's very addictive. So in the gut, it breaks down into an opioid compound, which I think triggers the opioid receptor in the brain. So quite similar to like heroin drugs. You become addicted to gluten. So, you know, people watching this video might be
if you're getting angry about this right now, maybe you're addicted to gluten.
Yeah, people do get quite offended and upset about the idea of cutting out bread, and I believe it's because they're addicted to it.
Yeah, I think if you're that worried about giving anything up in your diet, whether it's bread or
dairy as well,
any kind of food, you know, I think that's a sign that there's a problem there.
Yeah, and if you don't think that you're reacting to gluten, you know, there could be a whole variety of symptoms that you experience that you don't realise are caused or linked to gluten.
And if you don't think that you've got a problem, you know, try taking it out of your diet for, you know,
like 30 days at least.
Yeah, and then reintroduce it, see if you notice any difference, and decide for yourself.
Okay, so our final point is on blood sugar. And this is another big problem about eating bread, is that it's often marketed as well as like if you're eating whole grain or wholemeal bread, it's like a complex carbohydrate that will apparently like release over an extended amount of time and keep you full, which is completely not true because we know that bread raises blood sugar really high. Like the moment you put
it doesn't
bread,
even matter if it's white bread or like whole grain bread.
The minute you put it in your mouth, really, the enzymes in your saliva break it down to sugar. Like
you can feel it dissolving in your mouth, straight away.
Yeah, and it raises your blood sugar very high, like comparable to table sugar. And then you get that insulin response that puts all that sugar away into your fat cells. And you're feeling horrible because your blood sugar tanks.
Yeah, and you can't burn fat effectively because, you know, fat can't be burnt in the presence of insulin. So, if you're like eating insulin spiking foods all day,
like bread often is,
every
like
bit of fat you're going to tuck away.
Yeah, very difficult to burn fat, very difficult to go for an extended period without feeling hungry because your blood sugar is always on this roller coaster.
And then the longer that you do that, you know, the more chance you have of, you know, getting diabetes and burning out your pancreas.
So I think that kind of covers it.
That wraps it up.
So
I think we've given enough reasons why.
Yeah, so I mean, on top of the fact that there's just no nutrition in the bread to even warrant the risk of having
if you want to, you know, debate the gluten thing, fine. But
why even risk it?
Yeah,
when you could be eating.
It's not like you're getting anything out of it, so
yeah. Okay, so that wraps up our reasons not to eat bread. We'd love to hear your comments and opinions below. If you liked the video, please give us a thumbs up. If you're addicted to gluten and you hated this video, you're entitled to give it a thumbs down. So Yeah. Thanks for watching.
guys. Bye.